Okay, hello again. Hopefully we are going to try this one more time. Some technical difficulties. We are going to be doing a live with a part of our second. Okay. So our author will hopefully be joining us very shortly. But our author is going to be Kristin Revere from Gold Coast Doulas. And she has written a book that will be coming up later this month entitled Supported Your Guide to Birth and Baby. And I think that this is a great book to add to our mission. So the Louise Tisdall Foundation has a mission to improve outcomes of pregnancy, childbirth, and prematurity and infancy through financial assistance, education, and advocacy. And we are so excited. I connected with Kristin a couple of years ago, and I'm so excited that she has written this book because I think this will be a great addition for families, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I hope that hopefully this will work. Instagram changes around their formats. I don't even know how many times, and maybe what I just did worked.
I can hear you. I see myself.
Okay, perfect. Usually I can see you too, but that's okay as long as we're here. So,
well, thanks for having me on, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you, Kristin. So if you can just tell, I'm so excited because I know we've connected. We connected a few years ago, and we've kind of kept in touch. But I'm really excited about this book. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do already?
Sure. So I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I have been childbirth educator coming on 12 years, birth doula 11 years, started my doula agency in 2015 and have 25 subcontractors between educators, overnight postpartum doulas, daytime postpartum doulas. We do offer loss support, have birth doulas, and so many other professionals. So with having the agency and working with families from conception and with sleep consulting up to age 5, we have really realized all of the resources that are needed for our families to better prepare for birth and baby. So the book Supported, which comes out on Mother's Day, is all about prepping for birth and baby the way you would for other life occurrences, like building a home and assembling your experts of professionals, and also personal support. And then, planning a wedding and looking at everything from budget to what might be covered by insurance, like pelvic floor physical therapy, for example. What support groups are out there and resources both in your community that you can locate and also nationally. And then the book will be an audio version. It'll be an Audible like mid-June, but will be on Amazon for both the e-version, the Kindle, as well as paperback and hardcover copies.
Oh. I mean, that sounds fantastic. I mean, I think you're right, is that, we don't put as much importance about the plan for babies and what that really looks like. And I think, the references you made to, building a house, right? We have blueprints, we have all this thing,
right?
Planning a wedding, all of those, planning and then we get to birth and it's just like, okay, you're on your own kind of thing. And I think that's really something that I love that you're doing. What inspired you? Because I know that this is a little bit Excuse me. This is basic.
Don't worry. That's
Oh,
allergy season.
exactly. Oh, but I know this is based a little bit off your course. What inspired you to turn this into a book?
So accessibility, honestly. I mean, I feel like the course is affordable. My co-author, Alyssa Veneclaus, who's a sleep consultant, we're both postpartum doulas, and I'm the birth doula in the duo. And, we created the course in the pandemic to give our doula clients and our students a sense of community since everything was shut down, everything went virtual. And the course expanded. We were able to survey moms in groups before we created the course, had some beta runs, got feedback, and adjusted it. And with that, we had the concept for a book. So the book is much more accessible than the course, which is just under $300. So anyone can, borrow a copy of a book, listen to the audio version, or get an affordable e-download. And so we wanted to be able to support even more families who may not be able to hire our doulas or, take our online Becoming a Mother course.
And that, that totally makes sense. And I appreciate that because I think, that's something that, if you can explain a little bit about what a doula does, I feel like we're talking a lot more about that, which is amazing and wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a lot of what do they do? So if you can explain a little bit, that would be great.
Sure, Michelle. So doulas are non-medical support. In the birth space, we support wherever our clients deliver and however they deliver. Some doulas have a specialty. They only attend home births or unmedicated. At my practice, we support everything from, planned surgical births to, clients who want an epidural right away. So every type of scenario. Certainly we support plan loss and are able to walk through our clients in that journey. And we support physically, so with hands-on position changes, hip squeezes, counter pressure, we can show partners how to do hands-on support. And we support in that coaching, emotional role. And then we can give evidence-based information if any decisions need to be made in pregnancy or during the labor itself. And so as long as it's not an emergency, we can give our clients a pause and allow them to ask the questions that they need so they feel like birth doesn't just happen to them, like they're making informed decisions every step of the way in non-emergent situations. We support all through pregnancy, immediately after delivery. And then our core focus at Gold Coast Doulas is that after baby support, and we offer day and overnight care. So we walk with our clients up to the first year and can do household tasks, sibling care, of course, newborn care. During the day, we can allow our clients to get the rest that they need and also, take a shower without worrying about baby. We make sure they're eating, snacking, all of the things. And then overnight support is focused on getting the family rest. So we're doing the newborn care, diaper changes. We are helping with feeds. If the mom is breastfeeding, then we can bring baby to the mother or have the mother come in the nursery and we can support, any questions they have about breastfeeding and certainly support pumping and bottle feeding families as well.
Yeah, and I think that's all really great. I mean, the biggest thing is, right, I think any parent knows taking a shower becomes a luxury, unfortunately, in a lot
Right.
of cases, right? And having somebody there is so important, so key. But I think throughout the whole process, right, a pregnancy can move very fast or feel like it is. And like you said, except in cases of emergency, just having somebody who can say, okay, let's take a breath, let's pause, so that decisions feel like they're being made by the
Exactly.
person and not by doctors and nurses who are just coming in and doing their regular thing. Um, and so I've always loved the role of doulas, and I love your explanation of sort of all of the, whole road and the whole path.
Exactly.
Um, yeah. And going back to the book, I mean, what kind of, if you can kind of give a couple of different examples of topics in the book, things that maybe people don't think of when they're planning for birth and for baby, and just talk a little bit about some of the topics that you hit.
So I would say, again, understanding all of the resources, support groups, and, you're certainly listed with your foundation and the important work you're doing around loss and supporting families in that place where they may not know how to get support. And we also, I think, a beautiful part of the book is we have client stories throughout every chapter. So there's that pregnancy preparation, birth stories, newborn stories, and choices that our clients made, and feeding stories, and how to transition into, going back to work and what it's like to pump at work, for example, and have a past client contribute a portion of a chapter on how to create a very intentional baby registry with her experience in creating your values based on what you're registering for and considering services instead of things. So it's a mix of, again, our experiences as moms and doulas, but we also brought in professional experts since we are not medical, and have a registered nurse who's an international board certified lactation consultant contribute to the breastfeeding chapter, and a mental health therapist who focuses on perinatal mood disorders contributed to that section of the book, and a pediatrician created most of the content in the newborn procedure chapter.
I mean, that sounds great. I mean, it sounds like you're touching kind of every single point of the whole journey that you could be touching. And yeah, and I think resources, and I love the fact that I'm so looking forward to reading this book when it debuts. But I think, the client stories, right? I think it feels very siloed when you're going through this, and it feels like you're the only person who's ever had, X issue or X question. And the truth is, probably you're not, and probably it's more common than people, realize. And so I love that you have, kind of these client stories sprinkled throughout on a variety of different topics, especially some of the ones you brought up that are like, feeding issues or things like that, where it feels like everybody else is doing it right and you're not. And that's largely not the case. So,
Right.
yeah, I love that. So tell us, what do you think is the biggest misconception that you kind of see, things that people believe one way, and, that could be about doulas, about the whole journey, whatever it is. What do you think is a misconception?
Well, people are still confusing midwives and doulas and their roles. So I do, as an agency owner, get calls for people who are looking for a midwife and, thinking that it's the same role. And similar to an obstetrician, a midwife is more responsible for the health and welfare of mother and baby. And we are more responsible for their emotional and physical support in labor. And then in the postpartum phase, we will never replace a pediatrician or, your general provider if there are any concerns with the parent. We are there to, again, suggest referrals if needed, and be there as a resource and support around the house, and help parents create good systems so they feel confident in however they choose to parent their baby, to feed their baby, to birth their baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that that's really huge. And I think it brings up a question, for, a lot of people, and I've heard this from friends, from colleagues, is they'll say, well, I have my partner with me, or I have my mom or somebody with me, so I don't need a doula. If you could explain kind of like why you think that's great, but maybe a doula is still needed on top of that.
Right. Well, again, unless a partner works in the medical system, especially in obstetrics, then they likely don't fully know how to support in this space. And because doulas, we are attached to our clients emotionally over time in that relationship is so special, but we don't feel the same attachment to our clients, and we're able to step back and see things in a more logical way than than a parent or a partner would be able to in labor.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. It makes total sense. Um, so one more question that I have is, what would be your number one piece of advice to somebody who is currently expecting or about to give birth? What would be, and you can make that, a couple of them. I said number one, but you can make it three or four if you want.
Okay.
What were kind of like some quick pieces of advice you would say?
So I would say line up support for after baby during pregnancy and have conversations about the support you need, the budget that you have, and really communicating your needs with family and friends. Oftentimes, the mother is left feeling very isolated and lonely because it's all about the mother during pregnancy, but then once you deliver, it's all about the baby. People come over, they want to hold the baby, you feel like you need to entertain them. So really planning for postpartum success and, asking for the help that you need and hiring it if you're able to afford that. But, if family members come over, have them bring some food or empty the dishwasher or do something that is helpful. And, having someone like a doula to process your birth or to support you emotionally or to talk about some of your parenting challenges. So I know certainly family members are well-meaning, but they might have certain expectations for how they want you to parent, to feed your baby. And oftentimes with grandparents, what they knew as far as feeding and safe sleep and even car seat safety is not the case in today's parenting.
Right. Right. Yeah. I was thinking about some of the things that I remember in parenting that, uh, my in-laws, my parents were saying that it was like, oh no, you can't do that. And, I was thinking of one in particular was, kids can't be in their winter coats, in the car seat.
Right.
Right. And, telling them and just like them being like, what are you talking about? Right. And it was so hard because I was sitting here and I was having these, essentially fights and these, back and forth with it. And, crib safety and all of that.
Yes.
It's kind of known. The joke is that when I was pregnant with Colette, that my mom and I got into a fight in the middle of Restoration Hardware over nursery furniture and her didn't understand why their like crib bumpers were not allowed
Right.
and having this sort of screaming match in this whole thing. And, finally me pulling out my phone and going to the American Academy of Pediatrics and showing her. And, that was something that, was hard. And I understood from her perspective, that was what everyone did. And so for her, that seemed like a normal part of the journey. And I think,
Yeah.
all of those things is really hard. And, I think you providing that service to sort of say, okay, expert advice is this, and how to navigate those conversations, because I think they're really tough to
They are.
navigate. Yeah.
Yeah, we teach a grandparents class at Gold Coast. It's virtual, so anyone can take it anywhere. And it relieves some of that stress of having to have those challenging conversations with grandparents. So we often find some grandparents buy their own class, but it's often gifted by our clients or students who don't want to have those conversations. And with the child care crisis, again, grandparents are being caregivers now more than ever.
Right.
And so they need to be up to date on feeding and sleep and even all of the gadgets and technology that's involved in parenting in today's age.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My parents are the primary caretakers, during the day for my nephew.
Okay.
And Yeah, and it's really interesting because I feel like I've been filling in a lot of gaps to like explain different things to them. Even they just recently brought him over and we did lunch, all of us together, including my son, and they were putting him back in the car seat, and I said, "He's outgrown this insert," and
Right.
they said,
And
"Oh,"
they would
and
have
I
no
took it
idea.
and I
Yes.
took it out. And then it was funny because then my mom went to put him in the car seat and said, "Oh my God, this is so much easier." And I was like, yeah, because he didn't have enough.
Right.
And, it's just those kinds of things that I think is so valuable that, and that, I mean, luckily my parents ask questions and do this, but I don't think everyone's, family members are going to ask those questions and, try to be on top of those things, or they think they are on top of the things because of what they learned. So I think that's
Exactly.
also really important. Yeah. So, anything else that you would want to share about the book, about doulas, about your work, anything else you would want to share?
Yes, I just think that, I will never tire of supporting families and feel that this transition can be, so lovely with support, but we're not meant to do this alone. So understanding your options and resources so you can feel fully supported is our mission with this book, and with giving people information that you wouldn't know unless you worked in the industry of all the experts. And we get into everything from cord blood banking. What is that? What is cord blood donation, and how to get a kit, and car seat safety, and how to find a technician in your area, and understanding pelvic floor physical therapy, and all of the different experts that you may not have known, even if this is your fourth baby.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. I think there's so many unknowns and so many, and I think it's hard. I mean, we have access to more information with, the internet and everything, but I think it's hard to pick through and figure out what is actually true, what actually is useful, and so I think that's a wonderful support, and I'm really glad that this book is going to be in existence because I think, yeah, like you said at the beginning, families who couldn't afford services or the courses can now have a reference tool that is coming from experts.
Yes. And many midwives and doulas have, reading libraries, and they loan out books to clients. So again, you might be able to, if buying it, or hopefully it's going to be available in libraries down the road,
Mhm.
it's not an option. If you're working with a doula or a midwife, hopefully they pick up supported as well.
Right, right, right. Yeah, absolutely. So one more time, if you can share when it comes out and where people can get the book, and
Yes. So
I'll also share all the links too.
thanks, Michelle. So the book is out on Mother's Day, May 12th, Sunday, and you can pre-order the ebook version on Amazon, or order the print version starting on Mother's Day. And then by mid-June, the book will be on Audible. So the website for the book is supportedbook.com, and you can find more information about all of the different chapters, some reviews from different other authors and contributors to the book, and some further info on events throughout Michigan. And eventually we'll have some book signing events outside of the state. We're starting here, but we've got a couple events in various cities in Michigan coming up.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I'm really excited about this book, and I hope everyone checks it out. And I think it's a great early Mother's Day great Mother's Day present when it drops. And I really appreciate your time, Kristin.
And I appreciate all the work you're doing to support families, Michelle. And I was just thrilled to be able to include you as a resource because, again, I respect the work that you do so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, thank you for joining us for another author spotlight, and we wish you all the best. And this will be available on our website as well. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.